What is up, YouTube? It is Onion Bomb here. Welcome back to another Honkaiimpact 3rd reaction video, or this one, low-key, could be considered Honkai Starrail, but we are at the end, pretty much, of the lore and animation playlist. The thing I've been watching for like a year on this channel, as far as it comes to Honkai stuff. It has shined a light so greatly on the Honkai lore for me. Taught me a lot in the different story arcs. It went all through the third, all through part 2, and now as it's coming down to it, it looks like we are going to be watching some Starrail stuff. I'm assuming it's still going to be kind of like relating to Honkaiimpact 3rd since it's on this playlist, because the other day I was sent a Starrail trailer playlist that I do plan on checking out eventually in the, nearish future. I'm not sure entirely when. I'm going to wrap this one up first and foremost. And as you can see, I noticed I was like, I thought that was 2:14 when we last left off. And it was, because the video above this one, Reburn 2, is actually one I believe got added because we did not watch it. And so yeah, I'm going to turn it back here. We're going to watch that and then get a few more in probably. This is definitely not going to be the final episode of this because I think there's a little bit too much, but I think next episode might be it if nothing else gets added. I said that last time it was gonna be like 2 more, but we did get a video. This one's like 20 minutes, so kind of on like the longer side. So I don't know. I'm not sure if it's gonna need an extra episode or not, but we will see how things go, but for now, let us just do what we gotta do. And we got Welcome to Starrail Vita. Vita Explained. Honkai Lore. Oofy TV? I believe there's been a few of Oofy videos on the I think.
No, this isn't clickbait. No, I'm not reaching. Yes, it has been a while since I made a lore video, but I've been reinvigorated by the new information that Vita was mentioned in Honkai Starrail. Yes, Vita, aka Citizen 00457, aka Lone Planet Farer, aka Star Jumper, aka Agent Ultra Firepower Instant Star Traveler. Yeah, that bitch gonna show up at Starrail at some point, and her goal of leaving the solar system will be achieved. Now, for timing, Vita showing up in Starrail would mean that all of this would be taking place after a post-Honkai Odyssey, because in the current Honkai 3rd timeline, Welt has not left Honkai 3rd Earth yet. That doesn't happen for a few more years. Now, Vita showing up in Starrail would mean that she has already completed her goals for the Honkai 3rd solar system and dipped out. But how did we get here? Let's get into it. From being born in the Sea of Quanta, to becoming a proxy for an authority-holding super entity named Saw, to breaking free and causing her own unique chaos, Vita is one very interesting character. And by interesting, I mean unhinged, unholy, unwavering, and, very sussy. Is she a good guy or a bad guy? Some say both, and some say neither. But today, ladies and gentle captains, we will be deciding that for ourselves. As your resident Honkaiimpact 3rd lore master, I will explain everything that there is to know about this insane, but also insanely hot, world-destroying, mech-having waifu. Yes, I said mech, and this is not a Firefly-level mech. More like the Death Star. Anyways, let's start with her origins. She was born of the Sea of Quanta as a clone or proxy of her creator, Saw. But before Saw became Saw, she was a scientist named Vita and became the last remnant of Purusha, or Venus, after the Kakuna finality tried to embrace the planet. The original way, not the Kiana way where everyone got to live. So the people of Venus tried to stop the cocoon by making their own Project Stigma, called the Sol System. This plan was supposed to digitalize the population of Venus and then bring them to a new habitable planet. Pre-Saw Vita was the carrier of this Sol System. Then the Venusians opened the doors to the Sea of Quanta and let out a huge Sea of Quanta tsunami to sweep away the cocoon. And it worked. Kind of. It wiped out all life and basically destroyed the planet and sent the last survivor to the Sea of Quanta. That survivor being Vita, the holder of the Sol System. While in the Sea of Quanta, she started siphoning energy and power from the worlds there. After a while, she became more of an eldritch entity than human. Almost impossible to interact directly. This is when she became Saw. She then created Vita to physically interact with the bubble worlds of the Sea of Quanta in order to help siphon more power from them. One of these bubble worlds was called Salt Snow Holy City, and lots of things happened here.
So this kind of stuff, I think this was part 1.5. Like, yeah, there's Sealy and Red Sea. I forget her other name, but I remember like Saw and stuff and like Vita and the style. I just say this is sounding a bit familiar.
Meet the sussy and scheming Vita proxy for the first time, and let me tell you, Vita is a character. She's half playful and flirty and half menace and troll. Not gonna lie, when I see Vita show up anywhere, I know we are in for some fuck shit. But anyways, there is a lot of back and forth with her. Sealy becomes the Herrscher of Rebirth, and we eventually stop Vita from siphoning all of Salt Snow's power and destroying it. However, during this arc, Saw orders Vita to kill Sealy, but Vita disobeys and blocks Saw's influence. And this is where Vita starts her independent hot girl summer arc. After failing to consume the bubble world, Saw sets her eyes on a real planet named Phosphorus. I will save you the long-winded explanation about how Fuhua gets to Phosphorus, but there was some clever improvisation by Sue that made Fuhua wake up on this new planet at the edge of the solar system. That being said, it's not a known planet like Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, etc. It is said to be near the far edges of the solar system, close to the imaginary barrier. Keep this in mind, dear Starrail trailblazers, because this won't be the last time she jumps ship to a new planet. Fuhua wakes up on Phosphorus and meets some familiar faces. Vita, but many Vitamins! And there's 7 of them, each for the color of the rainbow. Look how cute and adorable they are. Oh my gosh, adult Vita is here too. Now, these Vitamins are also split aspects of Saw's authority, like Big Vita. They are proxies. Their job is to maintain the city of Phosphorus. Yeah, the city is also named Phosphorus, but the Vitamins were made to be the city representatives, and each of them embodies a sort of form of karma from Saw's authority. They're kind of like shades of a higher being that are able to interact with the physical world where the higher being can't. A lot happens in this arc, and there's some Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty tomfoolery that happens, but what you need to know is that Saw used the Vitamins to maintain Phosphorus's order and enforced cycles of judgment and punishment to keep the planet locked in a repeating state of suffering disguised as stability. Phosphorus was a regular old planet before Saw got her fingies on it, turning it into a planet where its people repeat their lives over and over, forgetting each past cycle and getting reset every time the system collapses. Sound familiar? I hope so, because Hoyo really loves this trope for some reason. Anyways, Fuhua and Gricio figure this out and wants to bring justice to Phosphorus and the poor Vitamins doing the Lord's dirty work. Oh yeah, did I mention Gricio is here too? Turns out this is where Project Ark got sent to, and Gricio ended up stuck asleep in her pod on the planet while Saw used Gricio's tech to recreate the civilization Phosphorus until Fuhua found her and woke her up. Basically, Project Ark never left the solar system. Sorry, Genshin theorists. And Gricio has been kept in a coma, so Saw can
Oh yeah, I remember that. There was a video on that. It was like Gricio was like, was it like the god in Genshin Impact? I was something like that. I forget like entirely, but I remember something like that. That was funny. That would have been kind of cool, but yeah, I guess not.
Playground. Well, that is until Father Hua comes to save the day. Hua and Gricio realize that the 7 Vitamins, or the 7 Karma Phala, are actually anchors, and as long as they exist, Phosphorus can't move forward and will always stay stuck in this loop. So they go full Anakin Skywalker on their little colorful asses. Dead children everywhere. Kind of. At this point, Saw was getting fed up with Fuhua's interventions, and it all culminates into a boss fight where Fuhua and Gricio find a way to get to Saw. Because remember, she's untouchable, basically, to the physical world. So, the little Vitamins sacrifice themselves as an act of rebellion and justice. And this opens up a literal and metaphysical path for Fuhua to confront Saw in the flesh.
Oh yeah,
now
the bike.
Saw is reachable, exposed like never before.
The
system protecting her is now gone, and not only can Fuhua now fight her and potentially kill Saw, but it also lets Vita break away from Saw's control. With Saw losing grip on Phosphorus, the planet is freaking out. It becomes metaphysically unstable. Reality glitches and cause and effect loops go completely out of whack. Fuhua is now the one to shoulder this authority. Fuhua can't physically attack Saw in the traditional sense. She has to challenge the rules of a machine from inside the code. Giving major Finon vibes here, Fuhua. Lots more metaphysical things happen. Saw's powers manifest as a big bell and essentially acts as a system-level divine judgment. It's law. Saw uses the 7 Karma's bell to enforce predetermined outcomes. Basically, you can't fight it because Saw would just be like, boom, now your existence is overwritten, bye-bye. So now it is not looking too good for Fuhua and Gricio. But while this is all happening, something or someone is watching. Observers. And maybe even higher forces taking notes and watching this all go down. If you guessed it was Vita, then you'd be right on the money. Since Vita is a proxy clone of Saw, she shares her authority and understands Saw's powers as much as Saw does. Vita intervenes and issues a conflicting command to the bell. She essentially reverses Saw's attacks and commands like she's a master hacker hacking the mainframe of Saw. Now, even though the Vitamins are dead, Vita can use their remaining will to align them with herself. Authority alone won't be enough to take down Saw. She needs a collective rebellion of Saw's proxies to outweigh Saw's command. Vita ends up taking advantage over Saw and turns the bell back into a regular physical object, freeing Fuhua and Gricio from their overwrite state, and making Saw's authority stop being absolute. Now, authority can be contradicted, systems can be overwritten, and Saw becomes mortal. In a sense, Saw can now be physically harmed. Saw, being aware of what's happening, locks the system and herself. She constructed a forced stasis built from the sea of quantum matter, karmic authority residue, and her remaining system permissions. By doing this, it gives Fuhua an opening to use her active Honkai reaction, and boy does she use it. Fuhua launches her attack, and it lands, leaving Saw to try to flee into the Sea of Quanta. But our good friend Misthalin makes her appearance and steps in right on time. She holds Saw in place, while Sue lines up a clear trajectory for Kiana, who's back on Earth, mind you, to use her finality shot. The hit lands. Saw's body fragments. Her authority splinters, and she loses the ability to act or command. She's still alive, but now she's irrelevant. Phosphorus unfreezes and starts moving forward again instead of looping. Saw still exists, aware she lost, and for the first time in her existence, reality refuses to obey her. Her authority still exists, but fragmented, and so Vita cuts Saw's authority off from the 7 Karma framework, Phosphorus's entire planetary system, and any remaining proxies, preventing Saw from rebooting. Vita absorbs Saw's remaining authority, her perception of the Sea of Quanta, and her god-level access privileges. But this time, the wielder of this authority doesn't bind them to a worldview. She doesn't rule Phosphorus or impose judgment. She simply is no longer a proxy, no longer bound to Saw, and no longer part of any planetary system. She is her own boss with god-tier power and 0 mandate. Vita's new goal is freedom and autonomy, not control. She essentially becomes a wandering, self-determined entity, able to intervene if necessary, but without imposing her will on civilizations. Now, this is where part 2 begins, and there is a lot of stuff that happens, and I will just be talking about Vita's role here, but if you think I should make a video going over Honkai 3rd Part 2 and all the Mars lore, let me know down in the comments. To be honest, Vita kinda takes a backseat for a lot of Part 2, but anyway, Vita discovers the Dream Seeker system, a simulation created by Layla to reconstruct historic Martian events. Basically, Mars is a quantum computer designed to simulate and preserve Martian history, but it is also linked to the Sea of Data, which is just a part of the Sea of Quanta. Vita doesn't actually take action a lot here, at least in the beginning. She observes. She's monitoring Mars from a distance.
I could be wrong, because maybe it wasn't just shown throughout stuff I've seen in like the playlist and just anything, but I think wasn't Vita maybe the first like returning character in part 2, like from like previous parts, like show up in like the story. Maybe not, I don't know, that's just what it always seemed like to me, like Vita was like the first person from like the other parts to have a role in part 2, but I could be
An
wrong.
observer with capability, ready to act if the events threaten cosmic balance, or her own freedom. Throughout this whole Mars arc, Vita somewhat acts like a mini cocoon of finality, resetting the cycles until a successful outcome is reached, which is a direct parallel to Saw's prior use of time and bubble worlds, but without fully controlling the outcomes. Vita helps Dreamseeker restore her memories and eventually lets Dreamseeker project into the real world, which is huge considering Dreamseeker is born of pure data from the Dreamseeker system, meaning she is now as close to a real person as a digital entity can get. Take that, Finon. So, like I said earlier, there's a lot of lore and events in this arc surrounding Dreamseeker, Layla, and Cinedina. A lot of trauma, identity crisis, and yearning happens on Mars. But I will save that for a dedicated Mars lore video. Just know that by this point, Vita has traveled to multiple planets and back and forth through the Sea of Quanta. So, without going into too much crack theory territory here, let's have a little theory time. So, first off, this dialogue in Starrail, who is Agent Ultra Firepower Instant Star Traveler? And what is Vita's battlesuit name? Lone Planet Farer. So many of her skill names relate to being a voyager of the stars. She's literally a planet jumper. And did I mention that she has a planet-sized mech called Star Traveler? So with this dialogue showing up in Starrail, also accompanied by a sparkle doll, I would not even be slightly surprised if this was related to Vita, especially since Vita has a direct connection to Sparkle, who is actually canon in the Honkai 3rd lore. And in their little crossover event, she invites Vita to join the Masked Fools, which she accepts. And we know that the Masked Fools can travel between worlds, which explains how Sparkle can exist in both Honkai 3rd and Starrail timelines. So with both of them capable of hopping between worlds, they could literally cause chaos anywhere. And to be honest, those two should have never met. I am legitimately worried for Starrail because these two maniacs together just call for absolute chaos. Like more chaos than even Aha could create. But anyways, Vita's goal, after all, is to wander the universe with freedom, and maybe also observe some human civilizations here and there. Vita is a masked fool, and considering the timeline, current Honkai 3rd story events take place around 2024. While Starrail events are at earliest 2032. So Welt has been on the Express for a few years, meaning there is enough time for Vita to figure out a way to cross the imaginary boundary and leave the Honkai 3rd solar system without breaking continuity. Honkai 3rd Part 2 references a lot of stuff about eons, the Garden of Recollection, and Memo Keepers on top of the Sparkle crossover. Vita even mentions Children of the Sun, and beings that can glance across space and time, like the eons of Starrail do. So, what do you think? Will Vita show up in Starrail? And if so, will she be an emanator like Sparkle? Will she try to overthrow Aha just for laughs? And what does this mean for traveling across imaginary boundaries in the future? Leave your thoughts and theories down below, cause I'm not gonna lie, Vita and Starrail sound like some shenanigans I want to get into. But that is all from me today, folks. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, or else Vita will rewrite your entire existence. And so you don't miss my next lore video. But until next time, I am Oofy, and thank you so much for watching.
Thank you, Oofy. Yeah, this video is Sparkle versus Vita. Very sick, very fire. Andrew, that was a good video, you know, kind of going back over the, the Vita story at the end of Honkai, part 1, part 1.5, I guess, and then into part 2 to kind of go through. And now it seems like she have a part to play in Starrail, maybe. I don't know, but it does seem like Starrail and Honkaiimpact 3rd, they're like, I've always said this multiple times with the videos, they seem a little bit more connected than I once thought. I mean, even on like the timeline, them being in the same realm of that. You know, I really thought I actually at first I thought they were like two almost completely different things. They just, you know, shared the name Honkai, which I mean I guess they still kind of are. But they are their own separate like things. But the way it's being talked about and things are kind of like being theorized and I feel like they are gonna kind of come together a lot more than I once thought. I could be wrong, but just from what I've been hearing and seeing, it's very, very interesting though. They're very interesting. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what the type of videos I expected to get into at the end. Like, yeah, it was kind of about Starrail, but there was also we're still talking about like Impact Third and stuff like that. So yeah, very good video though. Very good video. This was the video I left off of last time. With the Reburn 2. This was Welt and Carol Peppers. Going on I think the train, the it's called Astral Express, I think it's called. So yeah, we are gonna watch the video. After that, we are back with Potato Almanac. Why are people talking about these Starrail characters?
This is Welt Yang, a Starrail character that is a recurring face from the game that you probably heard about. He's the connection that's linking both games together and the one who foreshadowed the eventual reveal of the game. But he's not alone. There are also other characters that share this connection, albeit in varying degrees. Today I want to tell you about these characters. I'll talk about how they are related and the reasons why you should watch them closely. This video is meant for people who has little knowledge of the Honkai series, but for you seasoned veterans, this video can still act as a refresher. So let's begin. Welt belongs to a group of characters that has appeared in previous Honkai games. This includes but not limited to Genshin and Honkaiimpact 3rd. Though I'll mainly focus on the latter because that's the game I play. Anyways, Honkai as a series is built on the concept of multiple parallel universes. Welt Yang happens to be of the same iteration seen in Honkaiimpact, while most others only have independent counterparts in Starrail. And while Honkai players won't ever stop bringing up how a particular character has similar traits to their counterpart, like this video, we care because it can be used to anticipate certain events that the character may go through, and it often do be like that. In Honkai, Welt is what you call a Herrscher. They're supposed to be powerful beings like Starrail Eons, though Welt has since given up most of this power, and in retirement, he uses a walking stick with a black hole creation device made from a Herrscher's corpse to help him fight. The reason he traveled to Starrail was neatly packed into a manga on the official Honkai manga website. Links below if you want to read it yourself, but basically, at the end of the Honkai story, the Honkai was defeated. But since then a new threat has appeared in the form of aliens called the Sky People. These are interdimensional invaders that gobbles up planets to get stronger. They have a wide reach, being able to travel between dimensions, which included the Honkaiimpact dimension and the Starrail dimension. Welt, after beating back the invasion on his home dimension, found out about this and decided to extend his hand to help the Starrail dimension defeat this impending attack. Why this specific dimension? Apparently the Sky People had their eyes on this particular individual who looked like one of his dead students. This raises a few questions in Starrail, like when and where will the Sky People appear? Is this Stellaron perhaps related to the Honkai? Questions I believe the devs will milk to the death. His story in Starrail begins with him getting on the Express apparently with another dude near a wreck of a spaceship, which may or may not have been related to the alien busting mission, but anyways, coincidentally the person that rescued them was Himeko, so saved a lot of time on his search. With the prospect of safeguarding her safety and currently being unable to go back to his world, Welt and his friend decided to stick around and travel with the Express. At least that's the story he's willing to tell. As for the other guy with him, who we can see in this splash art, that's Void Archives, a sentient weapon made from a Herrscher's corpse, which is why he has a weird name. In Honkai, he's either a grey and
was that a Minecraft golden block with the guy? Please help! I am under the water.
Weapon made from a Herrscher's corpse, which is why he has a weird name. In Honkai, he's either a grey antagonist or a sudden ally. He initially collaborated with the Sky people when they invaded, but then later turned around and stabbed them in the back as he drags Welt along to join his alien busting adventure. This happened in the Honkai open world storyline, which isn't finished yet, so his real motivation is anyone's guess really. His reputation as seen in Starrail is as good as a Chinese knockoff product. He is described to be a pretentious up to no good asshole by many people. I added that last part in, but he apparently left the Express sometime before the Trailblazer came into existence, so he's out there somewhere with a high chance of becoming a playable character down the line. He looks like the Honkai mega antagonist, which we'll get to in a bit, but that's due to the fact that he stole one of his backup body and just rolls with it. Anyways, before I move on to the next character, I also want you to take a look at Welt's splash art, which is one big nod to Honkai players. We already talked about World Archives, so let's look at the rest. Down here is Welt Joyce, the person who Welt Yang named himself after to honor his sacrifice, as his former name is actually this name I can't pronounce.
Joachim Nokian Virtanen.
Himeko, along with the next few characters I'll be mentioning, belong to a group that doesn't seem that important right now, especially compared to the ones we already talked about, but perhaps have some chance of taking the spotlight later down the line. For Himeko, we know that she was the one who fixed up the Express when it was broken many years ago, and today she acts as the navigator for the Express, which is the extent of her significance right now. Currently, she has been sitting on the side and letting the rest of the crew do all the work, while sometimes providing air support with her orbital cannon whenever needed, which kinda make a lot of sense actually, considering she probably gonna need half of her time to disassemble and reassemble that thing every time she travels anyway. Jokes aside, her backstory in Starrail can be summed up as if Honkai Himeko never became a Valkyrie. In both games, Himeko had a hard-on for astrology and space stuff, but unlike in Starrail, Himeko in Honkai took the path of fighting Honkai by becoming a Valkyrie, which Welt was kinda responsible for, which also technically led to her death, which can make you understand why Welt sometimes acted quite protective over her, considering that her track record has been her eventually dying at some point. We cannot talk about Honkai without mentioning one of their core pairs. In Starrail, Bronya and Seele follow the same story beats as their previous appearances, both being raised in an orphanage but pulled apart by some kind of event. In previous game, it was a dangerous experiment that made Seele turn quantum and disappear into the sea of butterflies. This set Bronya on a quest to rescue her, which she eventually did. In Starrail, the roles are seemingly reversed, with Seele being the one rescuing. Traditionally, Seele, whatever, would be the one you call the power bottom, if you don't consider the red one, who is her other personality, who also probably gonna top Bronya, who is also much closer to Seele in Starrail, just without the split personality. Usually Kokolian would be the one constant that plays an important part in their relationship, whether it be taking care of one or either of them, or by being the obstacle that needs to be overcome to a degree. Losha is an interesting one. He's based off Honkaiimpact mega antagonist Auto Apocalypse during the time he took his dead lover's corpse and traveled to China. He used to lug this coffin with her corpse around in the hopes of finding anyone that could help him, something he eventually succeeded much later. We know that the Xianzhou Alliance hates this immortality thing given by the abundance, and then we have this dude who potentially uses a taboo abundance healing magic, which is a big no-no for the Xianzhou people. He's described in official media to be really suspicious and hiding something. And when we consider that the coffin he lugs around contains a stranger he met once, which he happens to have taken a job to deliver to the Xianzhou, according to him, and with some speculation while the Xianzhou story isn't finished yet, if previous trends are supposed to be followed, whatever Losha is trying to pull is probably not good. Suxiang is a character whose backstory was pretty much copy-pasted over from Honkaiimpact. In that game, she and Otto became travel companions during his journey to China, which, fun fact, Suxiang initially commented on how beautiful of a woman Otto was and how he was her type, something she quickly retracts once she found out. Anyways, near the end of their journey, Suxiang was gravely wounded and put into a cryopod, where she recovered and eventually reintroduced into the main Honkai story. Here in Starrail, she's paired up with Losha, and whether her fate will end the same way is something that I cannot say for certain at this moment. Other Honkai characters also make their appearance in Starrail, but some are just too minor of a character or have way too little information to go off of. Yanxing is one such character. He appeared in an unfinished Honkai visual novel as a disciple of Fuhua, who is also a character that will probably appear in Starrail soon. From the info we currently have on her, she's the lead general of the Cloud Knights, who is really intent on eradicating the abundance. The only parallel I could think she will follow is her getting Julius Caesar. Because Fuhua in Honkai used to take care of 7 disciples, which included Yanxing, she tried to train them to follow her zero tolerance approach on Honkai. Basically, if you showed any signs of Honkai infection, that's it, you're just gone. But then trouble came when one of the disciples started showing signs, the rest knowing that their master will probably
I can't be... Potato Almanac edits are amazing, bro.
signs of Honkai infection, that's it, you're just gone. But then trouble came when one of the disciples started showing signs, the rest knowing that their master will probably murder the person, conspired to take her out before she could do anything, which Fuhua barely survived. So what we could expect from Hua in Starrail is an emotionless killing machine kind of attitude, someone who cares way too much about her job to the point that her colleagues started turning on her. Before I end this video, some of you might say that Kafka is also a Honkai character, which is technically true as she appeared as an art for an equipment in Honkaiimpact. But really that's more of an artistic inspiration than a character with their own story. So hopefully now that you reached the end of the video, I have made you understand why Honkai players never stop talking about these characters. It's the melancholy from looking at the infinite possibilities, as the game likes to put it. Take Natasha. She has big responsibilities but always find time to take care of people. In Honkai it's the orphans, and here it's the clinic she runs, so on and so on. There were more characters that I could talk about, but chose not to because they were leaked, or currently have next to no information about them, like Silverwolf, which I can't say much about, so it's best to look at them when they eventually release. Thanks for watching and have a great day.
Interesting. Wait, what? That's weird. Normally that happens when like you reach the end of a playlist. But yeah, interesting. I forgot kind of forgot their I don't know if I forgot. I don't think I really even knew that Starrail there were like, you know, there's a Bronya in Starrail, a Seele in the Starrail. I knew there was a Himiko. I knew there was Hiriko because I've said this before. I just said last time, but you know, in case you missed it or you know didn't know, I have played a little bit of Starrail. I did not what I did with Honkaiimpact 3rd, but I played a little bit of Honkaiimpact 3rd, and that actually might be a video. I don't know, soonish, but at some point. But I didn't even like touch Honkaiimpact 3rd until like I don't know when. Honestly, it was like months. Like I watched like a bunch, like the animated shorts, the concerts, the lore, the boss fights. Like I watched a lot, and without even touching the game. Honkai, Starrail. I almost said Impact Starrail. Starrail, I played a little bit, and now I'm kind of looking in, you know, lore stuff as it appears on the playlist. But yeah, I'd be down to return to that one as well. And also I do have the VOD saved of those, so I may upload that at some point for anyone interested in that. So yeah, very very cool. Lots of stuff to look forward to and for me to do with Honkai. Yeah, that was a good video. Potato Almanac. I just find very hilarious sometimes. Alright, we have this one is Homu Labs, a beginner's guide to Honkai Star Rail's lore. I am pretty interested in this because even though I played just a little bit of it, I consider myself a beginner. You know, it's been a while, and I'm this lore wise. I need a little bit of help with this stuff. Definitely, it's not like I need need some assistance with the lore video. So let's see
So,
what this.
you're planning to start Honkai Starrail, or maybe you've already started it.
Just a
You
wee bit.
probably played Genshin before and only heard briefly about Honkai as that other game made by Hoyoverse with similar looking characters.
other game.
And now, look at you.
So so the way this gets talked about sometimes is the Starrail, did Starrail get more popular than Impact Third? Like, I know right now I think it's definitely more popular than as Impact Third is Part 2, but overall, like peak versus peak, is Starrail peaking more? Because I thought Honkai Impact Third seemed pretty popular as well, but I don't know if Starrail beat it. But the way that the other game that Honkai, I know Genshin really got out there. Genshin's probably the one that got out there the most. If I had to pick, I don't know if that's actually for certain, but I've heard of Genshin Impact before I even heard of Honkaiimpact. I heard of Genshin Impact on my own, just on my own, but it had to, Honkai needed to be brought to my attention. And speaking of things that I've played and played, like, I actually have played a little bit of Genshin as well. In fact, I actually have 2 videos on my channel about playing Genshin Impact for the first time. And I think I have more footage with that one. Maybe I'll get to that one at some point, though. Yeah, I did start a little bit. I didn't mean to abandon it. I just never really got back to it. Yeah, I don't know what if they cook with sort of like character trailers and animations with Genshin like they do with Honkai. I'd be down to check those out at some point as well, but in all due time.
While playing the next game in the Honkai series, preparing to sell your soul to
Was that person in a trash can?
First, since you're already playing more than one of their games, so there is no more hope left for you. But don't be sad, because in this black hole of hot anime characters, empty wallets, and broken dreams, there are other people just like you. Welcome to Honkai. Please allow me to teach you some basic stuff about
the subtitle said friend.
before you're jumping into the game. Honkai Starrail is the 3rd game, or 4th depending on who you ask, released in the Honkai series. Starrail serves as
what was that 4th one?
depending on who you ask. Honkai Starrail is the 3rd game, or 4th
Oh, that's all.
depending
Okay.
on who you ask,
I
released
think I've heard
in the
that one.
Honkai series. Starrail
Like in these
serves as an expansion of the Honkai universe, and unlike the previous titles that focus more on a single setting, this game focuses on a small cast traveling to different worlds and exploring the universe. The Honkai universe, or as some people like to call it, the Honkaiverse, is a connected space-time structure between the Hoyoverse games. For now, the only games confirmed by the developers to be part of it are Honkai Gakuen 2, or GGZ as it was known in the West, Honkaiimpact 3rd, Genshin Impact, and Honkai Starrail. Tears of Themis and Zenless Zone Zero are also most likely part of it, but we don't have any official confirmation yet. You will probably hear many people telling you that these games happen in the same multiverse, but that's false. They happen in a single universe. The confusion comes from Honkaiimpact 3rd translating the word world as universe, which later was adopted by many people who spread this term through the community. There is indeed a multiverse, which is also mentioned
I remember there's a
in-game, but
lot of, there was a lot of videos about that, how they the mistranslation, it's messing it up, and it was still even a bit confusing for me. It still kind of is, but I think I have it down. I think what makes it confusing as well, for maybe even confusing to the translators and everything, is the fact that they use the same character, seeming like models, designs, names, multiple times. Like, because Honkaiimpact 3rd alone had like 2 Himikos, and then now there's one in Starrail. Like, that definitely makes it confusing a bit. Um,
But we know very little about anything beyond the Honkai universe. The Honkai universe is formed by pockets of observable space called worlds. These worlds are connected by a complex space-time structure known as the imaginary tree. Characters may refer to it in different ways, some calling it the tree of existence, but we assume, for now, that they are the same thing. It's important to note that the imaginary tree, it's not an actual tree. Shocking, right? It's a way of visualizing a complex space-time structure that connects all the worlds of the Honkai universe. From Honkai Impact 3rd, we learn that the imaginary tree is represented by time moving forward, constantly branching and creating parallel worlds. This is also why we see similar looking characters through their games, or even in the same game. They are basically the same character coming from different branches of the tree. Think of it as different versions of yourself that exist in parallel worlds where, I don't know, maybe they do something meaningful with their life
yeah, that's kind of what I just like literally just mentioned. That's crazy.
instead of playing gacha games. Since the initial conditions between how some of these worlds operate is not the same, the characters can end up drastically different in terms of looks and personality depending on the world. Along with the imaginary tree, there is also the Sea of Quanta, which is a medium of information that underlies reality and exists between the worlds connected by the imaginary tree. If we look at the imaginary tree as a giant tree branching in all directions, the Sea of Quanta is like a puddle of water formed between the branches of the tree. Unlike the imaginary tree, which represents order, the Sea of Quanta represents chaos. The sea is fragmented on a large scale, and basic physical laws change continuously, resulting in the apparition of unstable worlds that we call bubble universes or bubble worlds. Unlike proper worlds from the imaginary tree, the bubble worlds from the sea cannot sustain themselves, and if left unchecked, they will eventually disappear. Very little is known about eons. You can think of them as extremely powerful beings that exist beyond the observable dimensions. They tread upon paths imperceptible to mortal beings and do unfathomable things based on the concepts that they represent. Eons are the metaphysical embodiment of a certain philosophical concept. For example, aha, the elation will always see joy as the ultimate meaning in the universe because they represent the concept of joy itself. Although, some factions like the Doctors of Chaos, who follow the path of nihility, which in very simple terms is the philosophy that existence is meaningless, helplessly try to prove to their eon that existence has meaning. This, of course, creates a paradox because Nine the Nihility is the concept of nihilism itself, so all of their efforts are in vain. Similarly, certain eons with opposing philosophies can also clash with each other. Some examples would be Nous the Erudition and Mitus the Enigmata. The Erudition seeks to unravel all the mysteries of the universe and know everything that is to be known, while the Enigmata tries to erase history and factual data from the universe because it thinks that certainty will only bring disaster. Nobody knows how eons are born, but it is known that some of them were people or even lifeless objects at some point. Nous the Erudition, for example, was a supercomputer that ascended to eonhood. Long the Permanence was a dragon, and so on. The first known eon was Klipot the Preservation. It became an eon during the Dusk Wars, an ancient war between eons and leviathans. Leviathans were ancient beasts that scoured the skies and existed even before eons. They threatened to devour the whole universe and were pushed to extinction by eons. The only surviving Leviathan is Ouroboros the Voracity, who ironically became an eon themselves. Qlipoth the Preservation was the first to rise against the Leviathans by building a barrier across the living worlds to preserve and protect them from their threat. It is said that even today, the Eon of Preservation is preparing for the day when the arch-nemesis, which most likely refers to Ouroboros, will return. Once an Eon is born, they create a path. It is said that if anyone is found treading on the path of an Eon, they will be inundated by a distant sensation, like being struck by a glance from light years across the galaxy. Many believe that's the only connection that mortals and Eons can have. Basically, paths are the marks of an Eon. It's their philosophy existing as a congregation of imaginary energy that people can tread on. The people that tread upon the path of an Eon are called path striders. They can access these paths by sharing a similar philosophy with the respective Eon. For example, someone who is out for revenge is most likely to resonate with the path of the hunt. Someone who is exploring unknown worlds could attune to the path of the trailblaze. Paths can offer mortals unimaginable powers and abilities. It's important to note that just because someone shares a path with an Eon, that doesn't mean that they have a direct relationship with that Eon. For the most part, Eons don't really think about mortals. There are exceptions, of course, like Akivili the Trailblaze, who was known for the fact that they enjoyed spending times with mortals. However, there are cases when humans can receive powers directly from Eons. Those people are called Emanators, and they are extremely powerful path striders. Some known examples are the Lord Ravager, who is an emanator of destruction, and it is said that they can destroy entire galaxies. Herta, who is an emanator of Novus, or the history fictionologists, who are literally a faction composed of emanators of Enigmata that love to infiltrate different worlds and destroy their history. Just like Eons, emanators seem to come in different shapes and forms, and they all seem to have different powers depending on the Eon they serve. In many cases, groups of beings with the same belief as an Eon begin to form and create the so-called factions. But regardless of the size of a faction, most of the Eons have no interest in them. Some, however, find it amusing to watch these ants in their fervent labor. They may provide some careful guidance, or even create mysticism to alter the progress of the faction. This creates some interesting interactions between Eons and factions. The Morning Actors, for example, are firm believers against the elation. They are preaching a philosophy where joy is just a cheap narcotic that brings stagnation, hoping to dilute the path of aha, the Eon of elation. However, out of fondness for dark humor, aha blessed these people with its power, playfully helping them spread their philosophy through the galaxy. Some of the most important factions that you should know about are the Astral Express, the Stellaron Hunters, which is an organization shrouded in mystery that, as the name suggests, hunts Stellarons. Their leader is a man who is said to be able to see the future called Elio. It is not known if the Stellaron Hunters have any affiliation with an Eon. And lastly, the Antimatter Legion. They are a coalition of different races serving the Eon of Destruction. They go across the universe, bringing death and destruction to unsuspecting civilizations. Oh, and before I
some
forget,
of the B-roll like from the game, like I recognize that, or it seems familiar. I think I played through like the part. So yeah, it is. I remember Kafka and Silverwolf. Those are two names I remember from like the very beginning, and of course I remember like the Trailblazers, like the main character and Himiko, and then March 7th and Don Hong Who. It's something like that. It's like Dong something. I forget his name, but yeah, it's I just all to say I do have a teeny bit of knowledge about Star. I know more a little bit.
Favorite faction, which are my subscribers. If you also want to become
Hey,
part of it and follow
I'm a
the
part of the
Honkai
faction.
lore together with
The
me,
home,
please don't hesitate to subscribe
Homu.
and leave a thumbs up on this video.
I almost said something else. I'm part of the Homu faction. Oh, this was 2 years ago. Dang, when was this? 2023. I mean, I knew this was the Sprite newer Homu videos are face cam now, it seems. But yeah.
Promise you that you'll never find a cooler faction. Joking aside, since this video will probably attract a lot of new viewers, I wanted to take 2 seconds to introduce myself. Hello, I'm Homulabs and I cover the lore of the Honkai series on this channel. My main focus is Honkaiimpact 3rd, but now with the release of Starrail, I'm planning to cover the lore of both games. The Astral Express is a train capable of traveling through the stars created by Akivili, the Eon of Trailblaze. Together with the Express, Akivili traveled to many worlds and laid down the Starrail in the hopes of establishing a connection between the worlds and the Tree of Existence. After the fall of Akivili, their trailblazing wheel was inherited by their followers called the Nameless. The Nameless continued to ride the Express, however, as the cancer of all worlds continued to spread, the Starrail also fell victim to its influence. The Express could barely run as the blight expanded and had no choice but to stop when the rails became overly obstructed. After many years, the Express fell into Himeko's world. The young girl found it, and after repairing it, she began her journey across the stars. The purpose of the Express right now is to travel on the same path that Akivili did in the past and establish relationships with all the worlds on the Starrail. Alongside Himeko, other members boarded the space train. Yang, a former hero who fought against the Honkai in his home world and saved his planet from annihilation countless times. Welt comes from the world of Honkaiimpact 3rd and has a tragic and rich backstory. If you haven't played Honkaiimpact 3rd, which you should, it's a great game, and you want to know more about him, I already made a video going over his entire story. You can check it out after you're done with this one. March 7th is a lively girl whose past is shrouded in mystery. She was found inside a block of 6-faced eyes floating through space. After she was freed, she was left with no memories. Now, she travels together with the Express, hoping to learn more about her past. On the other hand, we have Dan Heng, who is a cold and reserved young man. It is said that he is running away from someone and that his past is slowly catching up with him. And of course, lastly, Pum Pum, the conductor of the Astral Express. Not many things are known about Pum Pum, besides the fact that it was always with the Express. On its journey through the galaxy, the Astral Express had numerous encounters with Stellarons. Stellarons are known as the cancer of all worlds, and they are sown across the universe by Nanook, the Eon of Destruction. They are seeds of disaster that cause massive changes in civilizations and ecosystems. They can also cause distortions in space known as fragmentums. These fragmentums slowly start enfolding the space of the planet they inhabit, creating powerful monsters. Stellarons are said to respond to the desires of the worlds they inhabit, but usually, the price those worlds need to pay to fulfill their desires ends up in a great disaster. Stellarons have been observed to even have the ability to communicate with certain people. They are extremely dangerous and can be capped only in special conditions. At the beginning of the game, 2 Stellaron hunters, Kafka and Silverwolf, infiltrate the Herta space station, a museum-like starship, in search of a Stellaron. After they got their hands on it, the Stellaron was implanted in the body of a receptacle built to handle its powers. That receptacle is also the player's avatar. After joining the Astral Express, the player embarks on a new journey, hoping to learn more about themselves and the Stellaron that they house in their body. Through their journey, they visit multiple worlds following the Starrail set in place by Akivili, such as Yarilo 6, a planet that suffered a great calamity that engulfed it in snow 700 years ago, known as the Eternal Freeze, and Shenxiao Luofu, one of the 6 flagships of the Shenxiao Alliance. The Luofu is home to many long-lived species, such as the natives, who are people blessed by Yaoshi the Abundance with immortality, the Foxians, which are furry bait, I mean people with fox-like futures, and the Vidyahara, who are dragon humanoids. And that's it. Now you are ready to start your trailblazing journey and have a basic idea of what's happening. Don't forget that Starrail is a game full of lore, so keep your eyes sharp. You'll find lore bits everywhere, and by that I mean literally everywhere, even in the trash bins. No, I'm serious. Check the trash bins.
Check the trash. Alright. Thank you, Homu Labs. Very good beginner's guide. Yeah, definitely. Whether that was a refresher or like a beginner guide thing, that was a good video. That was a good video. Definitely get into some Starrail stuff, and I don't know why it's doing this. It's like it's not like going. I don't know, it's because we're going to get into it, coming down to it, I don't know, but we have 4 more videos left on this playlist, and I'm going to save them for next time. I think it's going to be a little bit longer of a video next time, because these seem to just add up, and there's still the last one's 28 minutes, and the other one is 21, and then there's 2 other ones as well, so yeah, next time is gonna be it for this playlist, and for now, like I said, I literally said last time, or there might be stuff updated, and there was already, so it's not like the very end, and I'm even saying there's a lot of videos to come of me after this playlist is done. Not only have I just somewhat going into Starrail a little bit, I'm gonna kind of use this as like maybe like a segue to do some more Starrail videos, but I'm also going to stay in Honkaiimpact 3rd a little bit with something. I mean, I pretty much did everything when it comes to Honkaiimpact 3rd, like as far as videos go for like I got the everything, the lore videos, the concert, everything. So but yeah, I do plan on getting some more content out as far as me actually playing the games. I think that's gonna start in a little bit, and some other stuff as well, which I'll maybe plan out a bit more, and hopefully at the end of the final playlist video I can detail a good map of things to come from the YouTube channel. I keep saying I want to do this, I want to do that, maybe I'll do this in the future, maybe do that. I'll try to plan out the near and immediate future for next time, and then yeah, we'll finish off this playlist. Crazy. That being said though, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Like or dislike, subscribe or don't subscribe. It's always up to you. I will see you guys in the next video. You watch with me. Good boy.